Hi everyone, this is Ted Butler here speaking to you live from the Metals Investors Forum in Toronto. I'm here on behalf of Jeff Clark and the Paid Up Prospector, and I have with me today Tara Christie, Director and CEO of Banyan Gold. Tara, pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Yeah, so obviously you've got your hands full in a good way with AurMac at the moment, and I wanted to talk about that because you're obviously one of the largest open pit gold resources in North America, which not everybody can say. But before we get into that, your experience speaks for itself. So let's talk a bit about your track record and why you feel that your management is so qualified to advance this project.
So I've worked all my career in gold, most of it in Canada and the USA's northern parts, particularly the Yukon. You know, I started alluvial mining with my parents when I was fairly young. And then, I moved off into doing hard rock exploration, very similar to Banyan.
Yes.
I ran a gold mine for several years, which gave me a huge background in all the parts of the business, from hiring to budgeting to financing and all the rest of it. And of course, I took over this company in 2016, and we've evolved. Like when you look at my team now, I've brought on a VPX that's come from a mid-tier company. My project development VP has permitted and built mines in the Yukon. So we're evolving and changing. So my management team, I think, really is set up to advance this. I'm pretty excited about it. What we've achieved last year was partly because of the team success. Our new model in the geology in upcoming resource was, Duncan putting that together. And I think our drill results are showing that
for sure
targeting is excellent.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk about next, is that not only have you got this kind of, well, I say low grade, it's still extremely economical at these prices, and the gold intercepts you had the other day were fantastic. But beyond that, you've got this Keno style silver intercepts coming through now.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, yeah, 10,000 grams per ton, 14,000 grams per ton over narrow intervals. But the target there is to find somewhere where that vein widens out, because typically they got up to 4 to 6 meters wide at Keno, because these mines have been actually mined prior. The areas had silver mining prior to the Klondike Gold Rush, right? And it was actually as big an economic contributor as the Klondike Gold Rush. So a very big silver system, over 200 million ounces of silver has been produced right beside us. And our property previously wasn't thought to have that. So here we have 6 veins that we've intersected, one where we've actually defined 20 meters of strike length of this very high grade, 13,000 grams over 2.29 meters on one side and 10,000 grams on the other side. So within a broader halo. So now we'll continue to define that vein towards the surface and see if we can find some areas, and it would potentially be an open pit target. And of course, we got Hekla's mill down the road. You could toll mill, sell the ore. We could also put it in our own circuit or direct ship, or that's that high grade. So the opportunity is to find some early cash flow.
For sure. And tell us about, you just touched on the infrastructure there. Tell us a bit more broadly about, because you're really blessed with some great infrastructure.
Absolutely, yeah. So we've got a main highway that goes right through the property, and the main power line that goes to the hydroelectric dam that's only 40 kilometers away, and which is connected to the Yukon grid. And it's only energized to half its built capacity, the power line, because it serves 2 mines, but until there's more demand on it, you don't need to increase the actual power.
For sure. So, and you say you got Wi-Fi as well there, and
we have fiber optic cable and cell phone service.
Amazing.
So strong cell phone service, which is exceptional.
Fantastic. And so beyond the infrastructure, obviously the main thing is that you're in the middle of the 40,000 meter driller program.
Yes.
What's the overall goal with that, and what do you hope to have achieved by the time it's over?
So we're building on our success of our targeting from 2025. And we do still have 75 holes to report on from 2025. So more news flow to come on that. And I think what we've seen in those results is that we're starting to define these high-grade zones. And last year we were really targeting the starter pits. Or convert some more to indicated in some of those areas, because it helps to define those areas that are higher grade.
For sure.
And what's exciting is that our model is predicting these high-grade zones, and we're seeing consistency in the deposit, which are 2 really important things in mining. How's the gold hosted, knowing that it's there, and then being able to see consistency. So we're going to continue on with that, continue to add some more indicated resources for the future updates. So the resource update that we're going to put out here in the second half, which is coming, or the second quarter, is coming very, very quickly.
Excellent.
And then we'll have our maiden PEA in the second half of the year.
Well, that's what excites me, because I know the re-rating potential when we get to see the project economics of this behemoth of a project, really, because it's so big. What can shareholders expect from that? Like, how much of a re-rating do you think that can really cause?
Well, I think in this strong gold market,
Yeah.
I think we could see considerable continued re-rating. Like we've started, I say we've kind of caught up to where other companies were, because remember in 2024, our share price was disproportionately hit, and we didn't really start share price re-rating until about October, when we had the cleanup of the ownership of our property.
Correct.
And we sold that block of stock.
Yeah.
And then I think we started to get some appreciation, and we started to get some high grade results.
Yeah.
You know, we always knew in the old resource, if you look at a 0.55 cutoff for the 2025 resource, there's already 4.55 million ounces of a gram. And so there is a high grade core. And I think the results we've been putting out have been showing that we are defining that with our results.
Sure. And the ultimate target, if I'm correct, is 5 million ounces of 1 grams per ton gold?
Yeah.
That's what
the resource will contain over 5 million ounces of plus 1 gram gold. And I can't say what the cutoff for that will be, but you know, I think that's a reasonable target for us.
With the grades that you get right now, it's very feasible, right?
We think it is. Yeah, that's why we put that out as a target.
For sure.
And certainly our PEA, I think, will be able to demonstrate and finally talk about some of the economics of this project. And you know, we won't use a $5,000 gold price in that. You still use your 3-year trailing average. So, and you have a sensitivity chart. But when you have this large of a gold deposit, you have a lot of leverage to the price of gold. And so I think as we do that, and I think it's very common as companies move towards their PEA that you see them re-rate as other analysts, shareholders are starting to do their own math. People are like, oh, there's a PEA coming. I should start to think about what the economics of this project are. And so that's where you get some of that re-rate, is people are going, there's a PEA coming. And I think it's really important with the PEA as well that we're going to have 40,000 meters after that PEA to continue to show that this project has both more ounces that we can add, that we're continuing to define those high-grade zones and making the project better. You know, we only had 42,700 meters last year. Every CEO wants to drill more, because as you get your results, you see where you can really add more value. So it's going to be an exciting year. We are going to have 10% of our drill program on our regional targets.
Okay.
There's 10 other targets that, you know, our geophysics and geochemistry have identified. So we're pretty excited about the exploration upside for our shareholders as well.
Sure.
And then, of course, the silver.
Yeah, exactly. But also you mentioned that, you know, analysts have a reason to be excited. I think also the majors, whose cash flows have really increased recently. And they'll probably be on the lookout. Well, they will be for developers such as yourself, who are really advancing big projects at scale.
Absolutely.
I do want to touch on another catalyst that was more recent. I know that your AurMac 6% royalty was recently sold to Franco-Nevada, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Can you maybe expand on how that changes your value proposition?
Well, I think people will be able to back calculate what that value is. So it's a 6%, but it can be bought down to 1% for $10 million. So the most likely scenario is somebody will pay the $10 million right before you have production, and then it's a 1% royalty. So they essentially bought for $52 million a $10 million payment plus a 1% royalty. So what is the other 99% of the property worth? That's kind of the value proposition that people can start to think about.
Sure.
And Franco does serious due diligence. You know, they don't go into that blind, and there was a competition. Yes, they've got lots of cash flow, but for me, that's great validation of our project, that a quality royalty company like that wanted to buy our royalty.
Absolutely. And let's just maybe finish by talking more broadly about the Yukon as a jurisdiction. I mean, recently Snowline Gold just signed an important agreement with the First Nations group.
Yep.
I'm curious to hear the latest on your relationships with the local communities and perhaps what you're doing to improve relationships.
Well, we're working hard, particularly on our baseline environmental, our wildlife studies, and working closely with NND. And we're having, you know, conversations with them about some of the same things that Snowline is talking about. And we like to just, you know, keep that relationship between the two of us, because that you don't want to get it out in the media.
No, of course, yeah.
But yeah, we are working hard. We've got a lot of employees from the community and from the First Nation. We're doing business with the Development Corp on some key things like generators and other service and supply businesses that work with the Development Corp. And I think that's important, showing that we're responsible and we were making significant economic contributions to the community and their businesses.
Yeah, amazing. I think that's all we've got time for today, Tara, but amazing to see the catalyst that you've got coming up. Drill results, high grade, not only gold, but also silver. All the best for 2026.
Thank you very much, Ted. I'm pretty excited about this year, and we're going to deliver a lot of value for our shareholders. We have a strong treasury, got high grade gold, high grade silver, and that PEA, I think, is going to surprise people.
I'm sure it will.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.